I stole that car. Like, there's no other way to explain it. That car, I stole that car. And it's a good thing that I parted it out as quick as I did, because I took a couple VIN plates off that car and that thing's a pancake now. At the core of it, life is about compromise. Life is about sacrifice. We all sacrifice our time, our money, our bodies, to an extent our well-being, our sleep. We all sacrifice a lot of things to have a lot of things. For instance, we all sacrifice time and money to put food on the table, or to buy a house, start and raise a family, or to hang out with friends. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you sacrifice hanging out with your friends in order to spend time doing a hobby. I am one of those people. I have a hobby. I have a lot of hobbies. One of those hobbies, of course, is Volkswagen. And don't get me wrong, I have spent a lot of time, a lot of money. I have sacrificed and compromised a lot of my life in order to spend time working on my car and to work on other people's cars. It's, after all, one of my favorite things to do. But when you hyper-focus on a car and when you get so deep into a project like this car, things can get out of hand really quick and the money starts to add up. The money starts to add up to a point where you begin to wonder, is this going to ruin my life? Have I spent too much money on this? Have I sacrificed too much? Not quite. And here's how. Don't get me wrong, this car easily could have ruined my life. But in order to figure out why we're here talking about this now, we need to rewind over 1 year ago when this whole project started. So, over a year ago, on August 8th, 2023, I went to my local junkyard and I pulled out a 3.6 liter VR6 from a 2007 Passat automatic wagon. And it took about 8 months, and we had ourselves, at the end of that 8 months, a running, driving, manual swapped 3.6 liter VR6 Mark 6 GTI. Shortly after completing that project, I actually made a similar video to this one. How much did my 3.6 liter Mark 6 GTI cost? I will link that somewhere over here. Now, we've taken things a few steps further. We are now manual all-wheel drive swapped. So, what does it take to make that? Well, let's get into the numbers. So before I get started with all these numbers, and there is quite a few of them, I do want to be completely transparent with y'all. A lot of you know, but for those of you who don't, I do have a sponsorship with Eurotuning. Eurotuning is basically the #1 one-stop shop for all of your European car maintenance and performance needs. You can log on to Eurotuning.com and pretty much find anything that you need for your European car, anywhere from oil change kits to turbocharger kits. They have it all. The thing that I love about them most is they are a enthusiast-led, family-owned and operated business. And not only do they help me out, but they help the Volkswagen Audi scene quite a bit. They are the title sponsor for Wookiees in the Woods. They are the title sponsor for Alpine Volks Fair. So Eurotuning is a major player in the VW and Audi community. Not only do I want to thank them for helping me out, but I want to thank them for being such a pivotal player in the Volkswagen Audi game. Shout out to Eurotuning, y'all are the best. It is worth mentioning, I am rounding up all of these totals to the nearest $50 to account for things that I might have missed or things that I've forgotten. We're rounding up to the nearest $50. So I have broken it into a couple different categories. So those of you who remember, this car used to be bagged. It is no longer bagged. It used to be on Airlift 3P. It had 3-piece Futuras, and now it doesn't. So before I even all-wheel drive swapped the car, we took it off air and we put it on coilovers and got new wheels. So my new Speed RSE 06s and my coilovers, my Silver's Neomax coilovers with custom Swift springs, those cost me $1,200 total. So big ups to Eurotuning for getting me acquainted with the guys at Silver, with the guys at New Speed. Silver actually gave me those coilovers for free. So a tremendous shout out to them. Thank you guys so much. So I was able to save about $600 on my wheels, and I was able to save $1,200 on my coilovers. And then Eurotuning also donated to the cause their in-house brand, Velt Sport. They donated a set of their adjustable front end links as well. Adding on to the coilovers in the new wheels, we also completely rebuilt our front suspension with some junkyard aluminum parts from a B6 Passat and then also upgraded a lot of the bushings and stuff as well. So the front end suspension rebuild cost me about $550. So big ups to Eurotuning. They sent out their race front end rebuild kit. They were able to knock off about $150 from the street price. I also bought some new wheel bearings from them. And then of course we got the aluminum knuckles and the aluminum lower control arms from the junkyard. I want to say those cost me about 150 bucks. So in total, I was able to save $150. Thank you to Eurotuning, but the front end rebuild cost me $550. Moving on, we upgraded brakes. We did a big brake kit for the car. So our big brakes on all four corners cost us $1,700. I did not realize it was that much. So all of that includes the front calipers and the rear calipers. Those were junkyard finds. The killer brakes, front brake caliper adapter brackets. Those I bought brand new I had to buy them from overseas. No hookup there. I think those alone cost me about $500. Same thing with the Creation Motorsports bracket. Had to buy those from the UK. Those were $300 in tax. So my front rotors, my rear rotors, and then my front and rear pads, and my front braided lines, those did come from Eurotuning. I did not get them for free, but they were able to save me about $300 on those. I know that they sent me their front lines for free because, again, it was their in-house brand, Velt Sport. The rest of the stuff they did discount, so once again, thank you Eurotuning for doing that. Continuing, I got my calipers and all that powder coated, and then I did actually have to buy a $30 socket to take the front calipers off of their OEM brackets. So in total, $1,700, but I was able to save about 300 bucks from that price. Thank you to Eurotuning. Moving on, we had to buy a new transmission. When I engine swapped my car, we used a Mark IV 24 valve O2M 6-speed. Front wheel drive O2Ms cannot be built to all-wheel drive. The transmission casing does not have the standoffs to tap and drill where you would bolt a bevel box onto. So we had to sell our powder coat. Remember, we powder coated that transmission. We had to sell our original transmission that we used for the swap, and we had to buy a Mark IV R32 transmission. So I found one that came from Germany. We spent about $1,800 just on that transmission. I refreshed it, so some new seals, stripped it, cleaned it, and painted it. $1,600 plus another 200 bucks in supplies. Moving on. Our rear end. So we dropped in a rear end from a Golf R, but I didn't just unbolt it and bolt the rear end in. I essentially rebuilt the entire thing. So our rear end build was $1,650. New wheel bearings, all new hardware. I ended up swapping out the Golf R subframe for a Audi A3 aluminum subframe, new trailing arms, new lower control arms. We did billet subframe bushings. We did the PowerFlex diff bushings. We did an adjustable sway bar from New Speed. We upgraded the sway bar mounts. We upgraded the sway bar end links. We got the Velt Sport adjustable camber arms, adjustable toe arms. So all of that came to $1,650. Eurotuning once again did donate to the cause their adjustable camber arms and their adjustable toe arms. They gave me those completely free. Through Eurotuning, PowerFlex also did give me all of those differential bushings for free. So between all that, I was able to save 340 bucks on the camber arms. I was able to save 250 bucks on the toe arms, 40 bucks on the wheel bearings, and about 150 bucks on the diff bushings. And then I was able to get 150 bucks knocked off of all of those New Speed parts that we dropped into the rear end as well. So a lot of savings here. Thank you to Eurotuning and all their connections. I really do appreciate y'all. Also, those billet subframe bushings, those were from Verkline. I traded work for those. So those are worth about 200 bucks, but I actually didn't pay for them. I worked for them, so I guess I did pay for them. But nonetheless, it wasn't any money out of pocket. Moving on, fluids. We have a lot more fluids. We used to just have brake fluid and gear oil and oil. Now we have brake fluid, Haldex fluid, diff fluid, gear oil, and engine oil. Spent about 300 bucks on the fluids for this car, and the Haldex fluid kit I did buy from Eurotuning, and they were able to knock 100 bucks off of that. So once again, I can't overstate this enough. Thank you to Eurotuning for all of their help. Some labor I did have to outsource. We had to weld in the drive shaft center support bearing brackets that go in the transmission tunnel. And then we also had to cut out our floor in the trunk and have a new trunk floor welded in. So I did not do the welding. I did outsource labor for that. I have a friend slash customer who needed a transmission put into his wagon. So we essentially traded labor hours. So no money was exchanged, but essentially what happened was I knocked 5 hours off of the total to get his wagon fixed. Lewis, who did our exhaust, I did pay him. I paid Lewis I paid Lewis $400 for that work. He did hook me up. However, I also push a lot of people his way, so we have a very good relationship, Lewis and I, but I did pay him $400 for that exhaust work. So outsourced labor, $400 out of pocket, add it to the pot. This is getting expensive. And then lastly, just other supplies, stuff like paint, seam sealer. I had to buy a different resonator for the exhaust, and then nuts, bolts, clips, heat shrink, just random hardware, zip ties, that sort of thing. But just kind of throwing a number out there, I added another $350 in additional costs to this build. So the grand total for all of those categories that I just listed is a whopping $8,000. Now, mind you, a lot of that was overkill. A lot of that was stuff that I chose to do. But nonetheless, $8,000 is a lot of money, and I don't just have $8,000 sitting around. So what gives? What did I do? Well, I was able to sell some stuff off of the car to help pay for a lot of this. So let's go through that. Our original 24 valve O2M for $900, our front wheel drive IRS for $200, one axle for $50, our old catback for $275, our 986 brakes, our original front big brake kit for $500, and we sold the bags and air management for $1,200 and $1,400 respectively. So $8,000 out of pocket. However, we were able to make back $4,525, which means that our all-wheel drive swap is now down to $3,475. Not too bad, but the elephant in the room, how did I get all these all-wheel drive components to begin with? Some of y'all may remember back over the summer, I bought a wrecked but running and driving Golf R. There's no other way to explain it. I stole that car. Like, there's no other way to explain it. I stole that car. And it's a good thing that I parted it out as quick as I did, because I took a couple VIN plates off that car and that thing's a pancake now. But I stole it. I paid $2,600, including the trailer rental, $2,600 to buy that Golf R. And it was a running and driving wrecked Golf R. So it had a lot of valuable parts that were already taken off of it, namely the headlights, the side skirts, the steering wheel, and basically the entire interior, the front and rear seats. Were already sold off of that car by the time I got it, but there was still some valuable stuff left on it and in it to sell, namely the engine and transmission. Now, we were already manual 3.6, so the engine and transmission didn't matter to me. I bought that Golf R for everything from the prop shaft back. So from that Golf R, I kept the rear diff, the prop shaft, the heat shields, the AC blower motor, the auto HVAC controls, the front axles, the rear axles, the front sway bar, the R floor mats, the R dash trim, the blue needles, and the gas tank, and a couple evap items. I kept all that stuff, and then I was able to sell, part out everything else for a whopping $10,875, which means we were able to profit $8,275. If we add the profit from the Golf R onto what it cost us to all-wheel drive swap our GTI, that means we actually made $4,800 all-wheel drive swapping our car as it sits. Now, again, to recall an old video, what did the engine swap cost us? That engine swap, out of pocket after we sold all the TSI stuff, cost us about $4,100. However, I have spent another $1,200 buttoning up and fixing things that have broken since then. So up until we all-wheel drive swapped the GTI, the engine swap to that point cost us $5,300, which means if we factor in our profit from the all-wheel drive, this car cost $500 to build. Yeah, looks like a $500 car. Now y'all, please do not take this the wrong way. By no means am I trying to brag about how much money I've spent on this car or brag about all of the free parts and hookups that I've gotten because of my sponsorships. That is not the message I'm trying to convey. I am purely making this video from an informative standpoint. I am trying to equip y'all with information so that way if you decide to go down a similar path as me, you perhaps now have a better understanding of what to expect. Maybe you want to copy and paste my formula and replace every single part while you're at it. Maybe instead of doing that, you want to just buy a Golf R, slap the all-wheel drive into it, and drive away. You could totally do that. I would like to point out, if you do the math, it ends up being about a 42-43% savings. The bulk, if not all of those sponsored parts, were completely unnecessary for getting the car running and driving. I very well could have just bought that Golf R and slapped all of the all-wheel drive components into this GTI and been on my way. Did it need to come off the bags? No. Did it need to have new wheels? No. Did it need to have a second big brake kit? No. Did it need to have every single control arm and every single nut and bolt replaced? No. However, that is the approach that I took, and I'm extremely thrilled with the end result. Again, y'all, this video is purely informative. I'm not trying to brag. So anyway, I hope y'all learned something. I think until next time, I'm gonna sign off, and I will see y'all later. I'm gonna take this $500 car for a go.